Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to Sportscenter. This is Frank Smith here, and let's get to it. Let's get to the storylines. The Rams win over the Cardinals. James Jones returns. The Lions are successful. The Browns win Week 1. Aaron Rodgers went crazy against the San Francisco 49ers. See, the Arizona Cardinals defeated the St. Louis Rams. Charlotte, the Carolina Panthers win. The Cowboys beat the New York Football Giants. Jacksonville can't do anything. The Jets lose to the Buccaneers. San Diego can't find a way to beat the Houston Texans. The Steelers could not beat the Tennessee Titans as they get blown out. And the Buffalo Bills and E.J. Manuel cannot beat the New England Patriots. Peyton Manning throws 3 touchdown passes. Chicago Bears triumph over the Cincinnati Bengals despite losing Jay Cutler. Jamal Charles went wild against the Jaguars. Drew Brees and the Saints, with the return of Sean Payton, beat the Falcons. Cam Newton survives and beats the Seahawks. Chris Johnson with a big rushing attack. We see Steve Smith catching 2 touchdown passes. Tom Brady being Tom Brady despite losing a lot of key weapons. Baltimore Ravens can't hold their turf and see the Super Bowl momentum. The Bears winning and Trent Richardson going wild over the Cleveland Browns. And Peyton Manning being Peyton Manning. 3 touchdown passes. Redskins defense stacked the Eagles numerous times. See Tony Romo gain some revenge, being the Giants for the first time at the new Texas Stadium. Arizona winning 36-29. Reggie Wayne with a big game, and the Raiders just couldn't amount anything on offense. Calvin Johnson being Calvin Johnson. Reggie Bush being the Lions to victory. Mark Trestman and Blanchard. Yes, not Jay Cutler, Blanchard helped the Bears win. And Geno Smith, the question is he ready? We'll get to that later on in the show. Aaron Rodgers, the Offensive Player of the Week in the NFC. Let's take a look who's going to be the AFC Player of the Week. And this is Trent Richardson, the second-year player out of Alabama, with nearly 200 yards rushing. Cornelius Washington with 3 sacks is the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Who's going to be the AFC Player of the Week? On the defense is Paul Kozlowski, despite Jacksonville losing. Justin Durant returning. That's a key pickup return. And London Fletcher signing a 1-year deal. Perhaps he's going to return for 1 more season. Brian Ratcliffe signs a 6-year contract worth $60.6 million. The Eagles just can't win, even with Chip Kelly in that high-powered offense. And the Atlanta Falcons, like I said, beat the Saints. Saints beat the Falcons. Brian Cushing with a big contract, and so does Ben Tate. Brandon LaFell re-signs with the Panthers, 3-year contract. And Ahmad Bradshaw once again hurt. Colts will have to play with Vic Ballard. We'll get to more injuries later on in the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and get to the scores. Sam Shields is back. We'll take a look at the draft class. Now let's get to the action. Baltimore Ravens, Denver Broncos, Super Bowl aspirations for both teams in this AFC Championship rematch. We see Peyton Manning from the 11-yard line, marking signals, and throws a slant 11-yard strike to Eric Decker as the Denver Broncos hold on to beat the defending Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens 27-24. Peyton Manning threw 299 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Ray Rice 77 yards on the ground. Dennis Pitta 83 yards. Now we see the New England Patriots. They defeated the Buffalo Bills 38-24. Tom Brady being Tom Brady, despite the Buffalo Bills holding more time of possession. Stephen Willie with 73 yards on the ground. Danny Amendola, 10 catches, 91 yards. On the defensive side, Tom Brady and E.J. Manuel got sacked a bunch of times. C.J. Still was a big return game. Tennessee Titans defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers 42-20, even despite losing two quarterbacks. Rusty Smith leading the team to victory, despite losing Jake Locker and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Chris Johnson, 154 yards on the ground. Jonathan Dwyer couldn't get anything going, despite three receivers for over 60 yards. In New Orleans, we saw the Saints defeat the Falcons 30-24, and Sean Payton's return. Drew Brees looked like his normal self. Matt Ryan could not lead the Falcons to victory, stalling in the red zone. Steven Jackson, 68 yards. Darren Sproles with 53 for New Orleans. On the receiving end, Tony Gonzalez, 6 catches, 87 yards. Lance Moore, 6 for 73. Harry Douglas came up big. And Julio Jones, 4 catches, 109 yards. He's one of the players of the week. Doug Miller returning 9 tackles. Goodson with 2 sacks. Jerry with 1. Goodman with 1. And 3 interceptions. Asante Samuel having 1. Roman Harper and Thomas decalled. Darren Sproles with a big return, 81 yards. They helped propel the Saints to victory, and he was big in the punt return game as well. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 161 rushing yards, defeating the New York Jets 23-17, and Mark Sanchez did not play well at all. The quarterback controversy continues in New York. Will Geno Smith start over Mark Sanchez next week? We'll get to that later on the show. And Doug Martin, 127 yards. New York couldn't get the ball going on the ground at all. Chris Ivory could be starting over Danny Jackson after Danny did not do anything. Vincent Jackson was a big game. So did Braylon Edwards. Michael Turner with a big game as a third down running back. And on the sacks, we saw Antoine Barnes, Calvin Pace, and Muhammad Wilkerson with 1 sack each. Darrelle Revis returning to New York. Gets 1 interception. So does Harris for New York in the kick return game. It was pretty average for both of these teams. Couldn't get anything going, no spark. Same with the punt return game in Jacksonville. The Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars 31-17. Blaine Gabbert couldn't get anything going on offense. Alex Smith looked like he belonged. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Jamal Charles went crazy on the ground. Maurice Jones-Drew held to 55 yards on 18 carries. Muhammad Massaquoi led the Jacksonville Jaguars. So did Justin Blackman. Kansas City pretty even on the receiving end. Ace Sanders, the rookie, 2 catches, 18 yards. On the defensive end, Paul Pawlowski with 10 tackles, 1 interception. Tyson Alolu, Hosino Dula, Cedric Marks, Eric Berry, and Son Smith with 1 sack each. Paul Pawlowski with that interception that led to Defensive Player of the Week. Josh Scobie with 3 field goals, and pretty average in the return game. Justin Forsett with 4 returns. Now let's get to Carolina. Seattle Seahawks, a Super Bowl favorite. Carolina Panthers. You see Cam Newton line up at the 15-yard line. 2 tight ends, 2 receivers out. And here comes Cam Newton. Steve Smith with a leaping ability. Touchdown Carolina. And the Panthers hold on to pick up a victory over the Seattle Seahawks 31-24. Carolina with a 170 yards on the ground, and the time of possession was dominated. Cam Newton throwing 3 interceptions. Russell Wilson, 281 yards, but could not throw a touchdown pass. Williams with 170 yards, and the Panthers held Marshawn Lynch in check, 16 carries, 47 yards. Cam Newton couldn't get anything going on the read option. Steve Smith leading receivers, 7 catches, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns. Greg Olsen adding 5 for 57. Brandon LaFell, 4 for 40. Seattle had Percy Harvin leading them in the receiving, 3 receptions, 109 yards. Dusty Walker, the rookie from Alabama, with a receiving touchdown. That is smoking, y'all. Earl Thomas leading the tackles with 12. Brendan Ryan with 7. Jordan Hill with 2 sacks. Hardy, Addison, KJ Wright with 1 sack each. Richard Sherman, Browner. The Seattle secondary picked off Cam Newton 3 times. Joel Pitt with a kick return touchdown. But despite that, Seattle just couldn't beat the Panthers. In Chicago, Mark Trestman with the victory, despite losing Jay Cutler. The Bengals were very sloppy in this game as they lose 30-27. Time of possession was dominated by Cincinnati. But Matt Blanchard, the one-year pro, leads the Bears to victory. Matt Forte was strong on the ground. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis was terrible. Brandon Marshall being his usual self, 7 catches, 102 yards. The Cincinnati Bengals lost 2 receivers. We'll get to that later on in the show. Major Wright and Williams leading the tackles. Cornelius Washington, they were double teaming Julius Peppers all game, so he got the load. Reggie Nelson with 1 interception, so did Charles Tillman and Sean Williams. In the return game, not too impressive, except Devin Hester. 83-yard return that helped the Bears win. In Cleveland, we saw the Cleveland Browns win 31-9. Brent Richardson went crazy on the ground. Pretty average in the passing game as Ryan Tannehill is out for numerous weeks. We'll get to that later on the show. Trent Richardson, 185 yards on 31 carries. 2 touchdowns. Lamar Miller with 63 yards on 5 carries. Well, that was not enough. Pretty average in the passing game as Matt Moore is going to be starting now for the Miami Dolphins thanks to Ryan Tannehill's injury. Danelle Ellerby with 9 tackles, proving why he will be a staple now in Miami. Cameron Wake with 1 sack, and so did Jamar Taylor. 1 interception. Paul Kruger with 3 interceptions. Deion Jordan with 2. Quentin Groves with 1. And then in Detroit, the Detroit Lions swallowed up Minnesota 44-20. Christian Ponder was doing well for the Minnesota Vikings, but got knocked out of the game, and Matt Castle was very mediocre. Adrian Peterson, 112 yards on the game. Reggie Bush with 94. Ponder adding 21. Calvin Johnson, 9 catches, 142 yards. Greg James looking strong, as did Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush being a dual threat with over nearly 180 total yards. The sacking game, Dominican Sue with 2 sacks. Brian Robinson, Kevin Williams, Jason Jones with 1 each. Cyril Raymond with 1 interception. And Mike Thomas with an explosive return game. Minnesota was pretty decent in the return game. Reggie Bush with 4 for 40 on the punt return. And the Colts defeat the Oakland Raiders 30-12. Matt Flynn did not play well at all. There could be quarterback controversy there. Andrew Luck had a strong game, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 136. Albert Bradshaw is out indefinitely. Vic Ballard will have to get most of the carries, and Darren McFadden only 12 carries, 26 yards. Reggie Wayne with 5 catches, 134 yards, and the tight ends of doom are key. Jacoby Ford had a big game, 145 yards. Kevin Burnett leading in tackles. Lamar Houston with 2 sacks. Troy Redding with 1. Connor and Wilden with 1. In an interception game, there was actually no interceptions. In the kick return game, Josh Cribbs, 6 returns, but not too impressive. In San Fran, the defending NFC champion 49ers fall to the Green Bay Packers in an NFC playoff rematch, 37-33, thanks to Aaron Rodgers, 438 yards, Frank Gore pitching in 96 yards, and Eddie Lacy with only 49 yards on the ground. Michael Finley and Randall Cobb, Jordy Nelson, and James Jones, all impressed. Anquan Bolden, 5 catches, 68 yards. Mario Manningham with a touchdown catch. Nick Perry leading in tackles and sacks, 10 and 2 each. San Francisco with a couple sacks to add. Morgan Burnett, the safety, with an interception. And LaMichael James tried to bring a spark in this game to the San Francisco 49ers. This went back and forth. Now in St. Louis, the Rams put up 17 in the fourth quarter, but they could not complete the comeback as Arizona wins 36-29 despite Carson Palmer throwing 3 interceptions. Sam Bradford with over 400 yards. Mendenhall with 96 yards rushing. Larry Fitzgerald 141 receiving yards. Tavon Austin, the rookie, with 81 yards with 6 catches. And Brian Quick with a big game. As St. Louis, the numbers kind of are, they were playing from behind, so the numbers look more loaded than usual. Ogletree and Cortland Finnegan and Denora Jenkins with 1 interception each. Patrick Peterson big in the return game. Tyrann Mathieu pretty impressive as well. Patrick Peterson, you see that was pretty good. The Dallas Cowboys winning over the New York Football Giants. Dallas turned it over 2 times, but despite that, they were pretty impressive for the New York Giants. Tony Rowe with 373 yards, Eli Manning 322. The running game not too impressive for either team. Ryan Grant replaced DeMarco Murray, who was benched in this game. In the game, Randall, Bryant, Witten, all impressive. Numbers were loaded because both teams had to pass because the running game was not working. Anthony Spencer, Pierre-Paul, and Joseph with 1 sack each. Interception Stevie Brown and Brandon Carr. Dwayne Harris was the key factor in this game. He was the player of the game. Had a go-ahead kick return touchdown in Washington. The Washington Redskins defeat the Philadelphia Eagles 24-17 as Washington was very balanced. The Eagles' supposed fast-paced offense was not impressive at all. As Michael Vick couldn't get anything going. Robert Griffin, despite that ACL injury, looked like he was in top form. 85 yards out on the ground. Michael Vick with 87. Santana Moss with 77 receiving yards. Deshaun Jackson with 51. Alfred Morris with 29. Carol Garcon with 40. Ken Garcon stayed healthy. He was beaten and battered several times. Connor Barwin with 2 sacks. Bowen with 1. Murphy, Jernigan, and Wolf with 1 each. And so did Kruger. And the Washington defense stopped Philadelphia in their tracks by the Chip Kelly offensive regime. In the punt return game, Santana Moss was pretty impressive. In San Diego, the Chargers looked, they couldn't beat the Houston Texans. They fall 28-21 as Phillip Rivers played strong, but he collapsed in the 4th quarter. Matt Shaw with 205 yards. They didn't need him as Arian Foster with 101 rushing yards. Ryan Matthews held in check. Denari Alexander, Michael Floyd, Randy Moss, Eddie Royal, Meacham, and Johnson, all with big games. Pretty good games. In the interception game, Eric Weddle with an interception, as well as Larry English. Earl Mitchell adds a sack on defense. The return game, Danny Woodhead couldn't spark anything. Neither could Eddie Royal. Let's take a look at next week. The Jets at Patriots. There's a quarterback controversy. Rams at Falcons. Chargers at Eagles. Cowboys at Chiefs. Dolphins at Colts. Titans at Texans. Redskins at Packers. Browns at Ravens. Panthers at Bills. Vikings at Bears. Saints at Buccaneers. Lions at Cardinals. Jaguars at Raiders. Broncos at Giants. 49ers at Seahawks. And Steelers at Bengals on Monday night. Let's take a look at the league leaders and passing yards. Aaron Rodgers, Sam Bradford, Tony Romo, Matt Flynn, Matt Ryan rounding out the top 5. A lot of 300-yard passers in week 1. In the rushing game, we have Trent Richardson leading the way, Jamal Charles, Chris Johnson, Doug Martin, Adrian Peterson, D'Angelo Williams, Arian Foster, all with 100-yard games. Michael Vick with 87, Robert Griffin with 85. In the receiving game, Larry Fitzgerald and Calvin Johnson proving why they are the top receivers in the game. As the yards leaders is Kobe Ford with 145. Stevie Johnson is in there, and so is Reggie Wayne and Jason Witten. And Brian Quick, Julio Jones, Percy Harvin, Ruben Randall, the slot receiver, Randall Cobb, Brandon Marshall, and Justin Blackmon, all 100 yards. Earl Thomas leading in tackles. And the sack leaders, Cornelius Washington, the player of the week with 3. Mayo, Long, Perry, Houston, Sue, Woodley, Barwin, Walton, Jordan, Goodman, and Morgan with 2 sacks each. In the interception game, everyone has one apiece. We didn't have a multi-interception game, but we have several leaders, including Darrell Rebus and Brandon Browner. leading the way. In the kick return game, Dwayne Harris is the key factor, as was Darren Sproles and Mike Thomas. Michael James was held the San Francisco 49ers to have a chance to take the lead, but Aaron Rodgers held the Packers beat the 49ers. And Devin Hester was one. He's always Devin Hester. I was thinking of the key injuries. Sanu and Brandon Lloyd all hurt. That could hurt in the Cincinnati receiving game. So far, no injuries going around the league except for Cincinnati, who lost Sam Achu for the season with a pectoral tear. Austin Collie with a ruptured disc. They're going to have to put Achu on the injured reserve. Schofield is also hurt. So Austin Collie not a big loss. They are deeper receiver. Left tackle for Tango is hurt. And Jamal Charles is out for 3 weeks. The injury-prone receiver, Dwayne Harris out, I believe. This is going too fast. Ryan Tannehill is out with a broken collarbone for 6 weeks. For Michael James out for 1 week with broken ribs. Hakeem Nicks out for 3. Cecil Short, this is going to be a big blow for the Jacksonville offense, out for 3 weeks. Harrison out for 3 weeks with the dislocated hip. Johnny Knox out for 1 week. Trent McGee with an interception. He is out for 5 weeks. That could deplete the Panthers secondary. Josh Cribbs and Darren McFadden out with the injuries. McFadden only out for 1 week. Ravens with no injuries. Redskins have a big blow. Brian Arakpo with 3 weeks. Out for 3 weeks. Curtis Boston out for a couple weeks for Seattle. New Orleans. Ryan Harris out. He's going to be put on injured reserve with a broken tibia. And the Tennessee Titans have numerous injuries on the offensive side, including 2 quarterbacks. Christian Ponder out for 2 weeks with broken ribs. That's in the AFC North standings. The Browns stole possession in first place. Texas Colts, Titans all in first place. Jacksonville in last place. Now on to the AFC East. The New England Patriots stole possession in first place. Chiefs and Broncos in first place, but Jamal Charles out for a couple weeks might hurt against Kansas City Chiefs. Lions, Packers, Bears all in first place. Vikings last. Saints, Panthers, Buccaneers all in first place. In the NFC East, the Redskins and Cowboys are in first place. And in the NFC West, the Cardinals are in first place by themselves. Next week on SportsCenter, we will see some key stories. Who are the early Super Bowl favorites? Any quarterback controversy with Mark Sanchez and Geno Smith? Any surprise teams? Any key transactions? Key sites and highlights from the top games, top stories, updated standings, and much more. Coaches on the hot seat. Any Super Bowl contenders in trouble? Which owners are making the most money? Any players will be rumored on the trade block? Frank Smith will give you all the details next week on SportsCenter. We'll see you then.
Also, buds.